And we are live for New York Metropolitan post-game coverage as the Mets are slaughtered. They are curb stomped. They are absolutely slapped around left, right, and center. The same way that this Mets offense has had a tendency to do the smack ass Selly every time that they do something good, as the same way that they absolutely got pistol whipped here by the Dodgers by a final score 9-0, I should say, in this post-game matchup. How's it going, everybody? It's your guy Wardy, and we're going to break down, live react, and get into everything about this matchup with our latest segment here presented by BetUS, America's #1 sports book. Check them out today, folks, as BetUS has you covered with all your sports betting needs. Use Wardy's promo code YouTube150. That way you too get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your next two, up to $2,000 for all your sports betting needs. Zach, thank you so much for the donation. He says, undaunted, F the haters, LFGM, and let's win tomorrow. Absolutely. Look, listen, folks. I'm going to be fairly short and sweet with you guys today on how we're going to break down what transpired here. We're also going to get into what the Mets need to do with Sean Manaea for Game 2 after losing this one in such a horrendous fashion, a disastrous fashion. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, went right for the Mets in this one. Jack Flaherty, this entire Dodgers team has everyone to thank, and we're going to go down the laundry list of everything that went wrong in this matchup, and it starts with a decision that Carlos Mendoza made, and that was to start Kodai Senga Game 1. Now, I would like to preface, I am not the type of fair-weather fan. I am not the type of fan that's going to yap about something after initially being happy about it for the most part. So, I will full-fledged say, like many Mets fans, I was not opposed to Kodai Senga starting Game 1 of this series. In fact, I was in favor of it. Why? Because we saw what Senga did against the Phillies. And yes, even with the lack of length, because he has barely pitched this year, I like the idea of Senga giving the Mets hopefully 3-4 solid innings in this matchup. Then David Pearson to piggyback for hopefully 3 strong. None of those things happen. And it starts with Kodai Senga's incompetency to handle the strike zone. One, Senga had no velocity whatsoever today. He looked absolutely horrendous in this matchup. Fastball was topping out at 94. He couldn't locate whatsoever. He's walking everyone and their mother, and even after the ball game starts with Shohei Ohtani, a ground out to kickstart the ball game. 2 pitches, he pulls out one for a ground out easily. Afterwards, Kodai Senga walks the bases loaded. You get a walk, you get a walk, you get a walk, and that is always, and I mean always, going to be a recipe for disaster for this Mets team. This New York Metropolitan team was 4-0 entering tonight's game when trailing in a playoff game. They are now 4-1, and the LA Dodgers have now tied history for the first time since 1966 with the Orioles, I believe. The LA Dodgers now have 33 consecutive innings without allowing an earned run. They have yet to allow an earned run going all the way back to Game 3, the second inning against the San Diego Padres. This Dodgers team was locked in. They look so much better than the Mets in Game 1 from top to bottom, not only the line, but everything in between. This Dodgers team had everything rolling right, and now the Mets have to make some very key adjustments. They have to work fast. They need a quick night's sleep. They have to make sure that they do not let this really get on to them big time and let it fester, because if it does, more bad things are going to happen. So, between Kodai Senga not being able to handle the strike zone at all, which ultimately allows Max Muncy to poke one for a 2-run single, we then get to the second inning, and this is where I have my biggest gripe with Carlos Mendoza today. Because listen, Mendy's not the reason the bats didn't show up. The bats didn't show up because of a combination of, truly, I believe, the delay. The 3 days off did not benefit this Mets team. It did from a health standpoint, but it did not from a momentum standpoint. The Dodgers, who just poured out all their emotions in a do-or-die best-of-5 series, they needed 5 games against the Padres because they were down in the series 2-1. They take Game 4 there in San Diego by a final score 8-0. They absolutely shut up every Padres fan and their mother, and Petco gets to Game 5. Kike Hernandez, Tio Hernandez, the Hernandez brothers that are not blood related, get the home run heroics, and the Dodgers take that, and they take the NLDS there against the Padres. Fast forward to today, they only had one off day, everybody, and this was one thing that I did have a concern level, just simply put, the Mets having to fly into LA. Dodgers are riding high off of an emotional series. Yes, they lost Vesia for the NLCS due to injury, which helps the Mets when you look at the bullpen, but what doesn't help the Mets is when they do absolutely nothing against his pitching staff. Jack Flaherty, after going 4-over-4 against San Diego, goes 7 shutty on you like it's nothing, like he's Cy Young. Why? Because the offense had no recipe whatsoever for this Dodger club and for Jack Flaherty. There were endless 2-2 counts, 3-2 counts that actually had things favorable for the Mets after the second inning. They had opportunities to pounce. They had runners on first and second with 2 outs. They had runners on first and second later on the ball game with less than 2, and they did nothing with it. It comes down to Carlos Mendoza's decision with Kodai Senga for game 1. That was, again, one of those things where if it works, great. It's a gamble worthwhile, and if it doesn't work great, you set yourself up for failure. You're down 1 game in the NLCS. Now, my big gripe is not so much with Mendy on starting Kodai, because that would be a hypocrite type comment for me to do, so I'm not going to say that. But my gripe that I do have with Kodai Senga is given the fact that he simply didn't have it. The guy didn't look like a major league caliber pitcher. He looked like Shintaro Fujinami. And I'm not just saying that because they're fellow countrymen, both Japanese. I'm saying that because Shintaro Fujinami couldn't crack this Mets bullpen all year long because of how erratic he was. Kodai Senga was erratic in the first, and the problem is this is not a regular season start for Kodai. You can't allow Kodai to spend the first 3 innings trying to get in a groove, because by the time that happens, the ball game is over. As we advance to the second inning, Kodai Senga, who looks god-awful, even worse than he did in the first, allows runners to get on, and that would be history. That would be that. Just like that, Kodai allows a runner to get on first, then that runner would advance there on a bunt single. Pardon me, not a bunt single, a sacrifice bunt there by the Dodgers, and then we have Reed Garrett come in, but it doesn't matter because, look, Shohei Ohtani, of course, is going to drive in that run for the third run of the ball game. The Dodgers are up 3-0 early in this one. What happens afterwards? The Mets had their opportunities to pounce. As I mentioned, they had multiple innings. They had multiple opportunities in this ball game to finally get something going on Jack Flaherty. They had nothing to show. When you just have a measly 3 hits, you cannot expect to win a ball game, let alone game 1, NLCS in LA versus a Dodgers team who has been here, who has done that, who has had playoff runs every single year for the past decade. Not a Mets team with the lack of experience. It definitely was exposed in this one. They have a lot that they need to adjust heading into game 2. And we're going to talk about game 2. Don't you guys worry. We will get to that. But in the meantime, we need to hammer down everything that went wrong for the Mets in this matchup, because it comes down to not only Carlos Mendoza's incompetence that we saw from the start of this ball game, but everything goes on what we saw the offense. And then to make things even worse, what really kills me as a Mets fan from this game 1 is like, okay, if you realize rather quickly, you're not going to do well, right? You got bad funnies. The Dodgers did everything perfect. They had singles hitting. They went gap to gap. They did everything that they need. Sack bunts. They had everything to a T, as you'd hope a good, fundamentally sound baseball team would do. The Mets, not the case. It took them multiple innings to get their first hit, and when they got it from Jesse Winker freezes between second and third when the throw that we would see after Jose Iglesias rips a single there, when the Mets could have done damage to that inning, when the game was still within reach. Jesse is stuck between second and third. The throw goes to second. The dummy's like a deer in headlights. I love you, Jesse. What in God's name are you thinking there? Jesse, instead of hustling to third base, he's just a couple feet away. All he needs to do is an effing jog, and he probably gets there. And Jesse Winker just stands there like a schmuck looking around like he was inhaling, frickin' French inhaling that cigar, and the NLCS celebration there in the Mets clubhouse that we saw, just standing alone, minding his own business. I mean, like, did Buddy turn off the remote? Did he forget that he's actively in a ball game? That really pissed me off, because that was the first true opportunity where the Mets could have done something with less than 2 out on Jack Flaherty, and instead Flaherty gets out of that jam unscathed like it's another inning without a problem. That's a frustration level. Then you add in, okay, Kodai Senga doesn't have it. You bring in Reed Garrett, who gives you a solid 1.1 innings, right? Then you bring in David Pearson. David Pearson has one job as a piggyback. David Pearson, you know that by utilizing him today for multiple innings, you're not going to have him tomorrow. You're not going to have him until sometime at the homestand there for game 3 or 4. David Pearson, unfortunately, can't get out of his own mess either, as he would give up a total of 3 runs there in the 4th inning, headlined by a Shohei Ohtani RBI double to drive in Tommy Edman, if I'm not mistaken. And I said it early in pre-game of this game, especially with Tommy Edman batting 9th, you have to treat him the same way that you're supposed to treat Trey Turner with Bryce behind him. Do not allow this man to get on base. What do the Mets do? They allow everyone and their mother to get on base. Walks will always be the demise of this Mets team, and that was full-fledged right before our very eyes yet again in this matchup. Spam your reactions, everybody. I want to see it live on a replay. Your thoughts about the Mets dropping this one in dramatic, embarrassing, lifeless fashion by a final score of 9-0. The Mets in this game were 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. They left 5 on base. The Dodgers were 5 for 11 and left 7 on base. They left 7 on base and they still scored 9 runs. They still scored 9 runs. That is how outmatched this Mets team felt in game 1 here. Kodai didn't have it. David Pearson threw an 80-mile-per-hour meatball right down the pipe to Shohei. I'm going to go on a limb and say, A, you throwing any 80-mile-per-hour meatball to a solid hitter is going to be a problem. B, it's going to be a big problem in the NLCS when you're trying to still be within reach of this ball game. And C, it's even it's a more bigger problem than you could have ever imagined when you do it to Shohei Ohtani. You had one job, one opportunity, and they couldn't get it done. So now Pearson's confidence is lacking. Kodai Senga looks like a guy that can't even pitch again in the postseason for the Mets right now, when the Mets set him up today purposely on the regimen where they could utilize him again later in the series. But how in God's name could Carlos Mendoza sway any fan, including an optimist and myself, to say, hey, Kodai Senga needs to go back out there? Kodai Senga looks so outmatched. He looked like a guy, not like what we saw in Philly, where at least in Philly, even though he gave up the home run to Schwarber and meatball, first fastball he's thrown at the major league level in months. I'm not complaining there. He got in a groove after that. But Kodai, what we know is that usually, even when he labors early, he gets in a groove, but we don't have time to waste 2, 3, 4 innings for that to happen. It isn't going to happen. Kodai Senga now has played himself basically off of this playoff roster, so the Mets are essentially down an arm. David Pearson gets worked, and add insult to injury, the Mets didn't even face any high-leverage arm for the Dodgers. Jack Flaherty goes 7 shutty. You bring in Daniel Hudson, and then they bring in who after Kasperias, and that's it. When it comes to Evan Phillips, when it comes to Blake Trinan, when it comes to Mr. Michael Kopech, the Dodgers didn't use a lick of them. They all have rest. They're locked and loaded, and they will be available all tomorrow to face this Mets team. And I know you might be saying, Wardy, this is the same Mets team that's done really well against bullpens in postseason. They had up until this game 26 runs in 27 innings against opposing bullpens. I understand that, but this is the Dodgers. They have some really good pieces, and they showed and they further exposed all and every single flaw imaginable that the Mets had in this matchup. From not only being on the same balance mentally, the Mets were outmatched. They were the mental midget in this matchup 100%. They had bad fundies. They had poor base run. They had nothing working whatsoever. Yes, you had an umpire that was a godforsaken piece of shit. We all know that. Pardon my French. It's true. He had some clearly blown calls on the Mets, as I'm going to rapid fire and break it down to you all here in a second. But what I got to say, what I really have to let off the chest right now about this Mets team is that they had themselves multiple opportunities, even with Flaherty dealing early, to just keep themselves in the ball game. So, well, we can sit and stand here. We can blame Carlos Mendoza all we want. We can blame him about Kodai starting the game. You can rightfully say it should have been Sean Manaea. Again, it's a hindsight 2020 thing. It is what it is now. There's no going back. What we can focus on is going forward. What does that mean? The Simone Southpaw. We need Sean to give the Mets length tomorrow. If Sean gets rocked early and if he's out of the ball game within 4 innings or so, the Mets have a massive problem because you just use your swing man there and Pearson. You'd have to use McGill then tomorrow potentially to try to make sure your bullpen isn't too taxed. Everything, and I truly mean everything that could have went wrong for this Mets team in game 1, sadly went wrong. The good news, you gotta hope, you gotta knock on the wood. It can't get any worse than this, right? If this is the bottom, what's the top in the NLCS for the Mets? Is the top still a series victory in 7 games or less than 7? Is this still rallying and having themselves a massive game 2 where the bats do show up? It was potentially either A, a bullpen game, or B, a Walker Buehler, which can turn into a bullpen game because Buehler was absolutely rocked in his first start in playoffs against the Padres, as was Flaherty. That didn't matter for Jack. Again, he's soft tossing, giving you at best 93 down the pipe, but his late movement on his pitches and honestly just proper pitches, getting the Mets to chase when he knew that they were going to chase. He knew the Mets were hungry. He knew the Mets down early were really desperate as well to get some offense going. And even while the bats grinded out opportunities, even while the bats put themselves in opportunities to succeed, we found the great reality, which was the Mets would do absolutely nothing with it by the end of this one. And that is what really crushes me about this, because this is a Mets team that, yes, has had a lot of things rolling right, have been down to the final out and finally stepped up with the Pete Alonso home run there against the Brewers to secure the series victory, all the heroics against the Phillies, but the Mets have never played a team here like the Dodgers, because even though I said heading into the series, and I stand by this, the Dodgers are not the better team on paper when we look at starting pitching depth because of their injuries. Doesn't change the fact that the Dodgers have the experience. They have done these runs so many times over the years. They know what it takes to win, and they certainly know how to handle their own ballpark. They show their resilience after being down 2-1 in the Padres. The fact that they rallied back and shut them up where they didn't score a single run in San Diego for the final 2 games of the series is impressive enough. Now you advance forward where they shut out the Mets for 33 scoreless innings. I mean, look, I'm pissed off as all hell as a Mets fan. I'm fuming. But at the same time, the Dodgers deserve so much credit for how they approached the Mets in Game 1. They looked at all their flaws and they knew exactly how to approach us. Carlos Mendoza, completely outmanaged by Dave Roberts. That's where you saw the inexperience with Mendoza. That's where it was full-fledged before your very eyes. There was no avoiding it whatsoever. And when you look at collectively how the Mets went about this ball game, it sets them up terribly for Game 2 and going forward. That's a further frustration. It's one thing to drop a game 9-0 like this. It's another to drop it knowing the context of the ball game. When you use David Pearson and he gets rocked. When you use multiple relievers in this pen, I understand Jose Butto, he was never going to be in high leverage after being kicked out of the circle of trust. He gave up, of course, a bases clearing double to Mookie Betts to go from a 6-0 ball game to a 9-0 ball game because he couldn't command the zone. Jose Butto's lack of experience is showing full-fledged at the playoff level every single time he's out there. He's incompetent. We can't use him right now, sadly. Then you add in all the other factors for this Mets team, and yes, is the series over? No, of course not. Any fan that's saying that the Mets are completely cooked right now as a Mets fan are the same fans that probably wrote off the Mets in May, are the same fans that more than likely probably wrote them off there when Pete Alonso had his at-bat there with 2 outs remaining against the Brewers in that wildcard matchup. They're probably the same fans that had pessimism after the Phillies gained momentum and took that Game 2 victory in a walk-off fashion, 7-6, and the NLCS. And all those fans, all I have is the following to say. Don't come crawling back if the Mets go out and win this series. The Mets win this series if they make it valiant effort, if they go a best of 7, and even if they lose, but isn't for the lack of effort, then I don't want to hear any fans saying that they expected that oh yes, of course, I knew the Mets were going to rally back and do these things. No, you didn't. I don't care if you're going to say that you're hedging, that you're reverse jinxing. I don't want to hear it. I'm not listening to it. You guys have been absolutely miserable, the same way that you're miserable every single time the Mets lose, the same way that I'm depressed and will be depressed for the next 24 hours. We live and die with every single pitch. I understand that. The same way that I understand that for this Mets team, they want to get where they need to be. They need to be better. So let's rapid fire here briefly, folks. Actually, everything that transpired inning by inning in this matchup, and then I'm going to cut things off. I'm going to post it as a separate segment here on the YouTube channel. Again, thank you guys all so much for watching live on a replay. We appreciate you. From there, I will continue on with our live coverage as we'll get into more of the details on the offensive, the pitching end, and how the Mets need to go about approaching things for the remainder of this series. But in the first, Jack Flaherty. Easy 1-2-3 on Lindor without a problem. On Vientos, I love Mark. He had a terrible day today. This is one of the worst days offensively we've seen from Mark Vientos in the playoffs. 3 strikeouts or so, just really, really bad. Did not look good. We get the bottom of the first against Kodai Senga, mind you. The Ohtani ground out. Betts with a 1-out walk. Freeman with the walk. Mind you, when he has a broken ankle, doesn't matter. He's getting on base plenty, and he had a fantastic game. Teoscar Hernandez, who's always lethal, gets on with a walk. Bases loaded, less than 2 outs. Color me shocked after a Will Smith flyout. No doubt the Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, still a schmuck, no less. And then we see right after, Mr. Max Muncy gets all that one for a 2-run single. Then in the second, Pete Alonso strikes out. A really bad strikeout by Alonso. Not a good one at all. Terrible at bat. He didn't swing. He didn't take the bat off his shoulders on every pitch down the pipe. And he swung on sliders completely out of the zone. Just not what you want to start this one. That's when I was already not loving what I was seeing. Because the Mets looked so overmatched so early against the Dodgers team. Headlined by Flaherty and Ohtani. We see Marte then with the strikeout there. And that was a solid at bat that just didn't go in his favor at the end. And Winker grounds out right away to end the inning. In the bottom of the second, Gavin Lux gets on with a walk. Then we see Tommy Edman with a sac bunt. And this is where the fundamental baseball shows you how much better the Dodgers were here in Game 1 than the Mets. Move the runner over right away without a problem, less than 2 outs. Ohtani, first pitch swinging. See ya. It's out of here. It's an RBI single. And just like that, the Dodgers are up 3-0. Reed Garrett comes in the ball game there, folks. And Mookie Betts lines out. And Alvarez thankfully throws out Ohtani. The lone highlight the Mets had in this entire ball game was Francisco Alvarez throwing out Shohei Ohtani at second base there. Lindor with the tag. He gets off the bag. We will take that. There was nothing else good outside that in this entire ball game. In the third, we would see Jose Iglesias fly out. Tyrone pops out right away. Both squeezed. There was at least one strike call before their final pitch that they saw for an out, whether it was a strikeout or a flyout, where they were completely squeezed on what was a clear ball out of the zone that was called a strike by the schmuck that you call an umpire. Either way, the ump is the reason why the Dodgers scored 9 runs and the Mets scored nothing, so I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm just saying he didn't help anything today either. No less, we would see that end the inning. The Dodgers are up 3-0, and then we see afterwards, folks, as we get to the bottom of the third, Freddie Freeman then we would see, because the Mets don't do anything there, on the half inning prior where Alvarez threw out Ohtani. Then on the offensive end for the Mets at the top of the third, they did nothing there. In the bottom of the third, Freddie Freeman gets on with a single. And mind you, I was very frustrated there in the second inning for the Mets overall because if Kodai Senga was pulled early, maybe Ohtani doesn't drive in that third run. Maybe the Mets still keep it a 2-run ball game through 2, but I digress. As we get then, as we mentioned, to the bottom of the third, the Dodgers would look to do more, and we would see Freeman with a single. Nothing else transpires because David Pearson comes in there with a final out to get, and he gets it lefty-lefty there on Max Muncy. On the top of the fourth, we then see Francisco Lindor, who sadly did not have a good day at the plate. I love Lindor. He got on with a 4-pitch walk. That was the only time he got on base. Did not have good at-bats otherwise. Again, just Lindor had one, I shouldn't say that. Lindor had one quality at-bat where he barreled it well, but it was right there to dead center. Couldn't get anything to fall in the gap. Like most Mets hitters, he just simply didn't have it today in Game 1, where the Mets just mustered a measly 3 hits to the 9 hits seen by the Dodgers and their 9 runs scored total. As we see, Lindor got on with a walk in the fourth. Vientos with another bad strikeout. Nimmo flies out. Mind you, it was a 2-0 count, so piss poor batting there by Nimmo. Didn't like that at all. And then Alonso with a walk. So the Mets have runners on first and second for the first time in this ball game with 2 outs, and they do nothing with it. Starling Marte sadly flies out just shy there of the warning track to Mookie Betts and right. Marte, who did barrel baseballs well twice today, unfortunately none of them fell. They all fell short there right around the warning track. Nothing was getting out today between the Mets and the Dodgers for the most part. Literally, I don't believe there was any home runs if I'm not mistaken. No less, folks, as we get back into this one, Kike Hernandez with a single in the bottom of the fourth, Lux with a sac bunt, and the fundamental baseball yet again before our very eyes. What we see there with a sac bunt, that leads to the Tommy Edman RBI single. That increases the lead there for the Dodgers. Ohtani then, of course, rips an RBI double on the 80-mile-per-hour meatball right down the pipe by David Pearson, and that makes it 5-0, and then ultimately Freddie Freeman goes oppo, even with the bad ankle, it doesn't matter. An RBI single pokes it the opposite way, brings in Ohtani, and is then a 6-0 Dodgers lead. The Mets have Winker with their first hit of the ball game. Mind you, it took the Mets 5 innings to get their first hit today. And when they got their first hit today from Jesse Winker, he got caught between second and third, as we just mentioned. Just terrible stuff there by Jesse overall. Then we see in the bottom of the fifth, we see Smith then with a walk. We see Muncy flies out, and Kike finally a 1-2-3 inning for the Mets. And the top of the sixth, Lindor strikes out, Vientos strikes out, and Nimmo flies out. In the bottom of six, Danny Young comes in, and Danny Young does what no other Mets pitcher could do today, and that was basically give the Mets north of 2 shutty. That's how good he was. Edman with a ground out, Ohtani flies out, even though he barreled hard, and Betts with a ground out. The top of the seventh, the Mets go down there yet again, sadly. They have nothing to show for it. In the bottom of the seventh, Iglesias with a walk, McNeil with a pinch hit line out, Alvarez with a single, so the Mets have runners on first and second, less than 2 out. Here in the bottom of the seventh, they're trying to rally. They're down by 6, and Lindor and Vientos are out back-to-back. Vientos, mind you, got screwed by Leon big time on a call before his final strikeout call, but Mark got thrown off there, and the Mets head to the 8th, still down by 6. And in the 8th, we would see Daniel Hudson escape right around there in that jam that I mentioned, and then we would see the Dodgers pounce more, because Kike Hernandez with a single. Kevin Kiermaier would then reach on an Alonso error, a throwing error. Ohtani would a walk, so bases loaded for Mookie Betts. Color me surprised. I wonder what's going to happen here, and the results are exactly as you'd expect. Mookie Betts gets himself a bases clearing double, and that makes it 9-0, and they never look back. The Mets go down from order from there. Simply put, folks, they need Sean Manaea to step up big time in Game 2. They need the offense to get their head out of their you-know-whats, and they have to shake this game off as humanly possible. It's a best of 7. A lot of games to be had here. We are disgruntled as Mets fans, but I will give a tip of the cap. The Dodgers, what they did, they deserve this game full-fledged. They were the better team from start to finish. There was not one single point in this ball game where I feel confident as a Mets fan that they were the better team. Not one single point. So what the Mets need to do, they need to go out there and prove us wrong, and they need to show up the way that they've shown up against adversity so much this year. This is the most adversity that they've ever faced this season, let alone in postseason play, you could rightfully argue. Dropping this one embarrassingly 9-0. How they respond tomorrow, that is what we need to find out, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed our live coverage. We're going to continue on with the live show now, but to my replay viewers, I'm going to cut this off. I'm actually going to post this as a separate segment entirely on the YouTube channel right now, so I'm going to do exactly that. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing memberships, all those things. Let us know your thoughts down below. This is very unfortunate. 9-0. Game 1 NLCS defeat for the Mets versus the Dodgers. Folks, give me 1 second before we continue on with the live show. I appreciate everyone's patience, and thank you so much in advance for exactly that. I'm actually just going to post this on the platform right now, and then we're going to continue on. And guys, continue to let me know your reactions as well. What is your biggest problem with the Mets dropping this game the way that they did? What bothered you most? Was it Mendoza's decision-making for Kodai Senga? Was it the Mets' lack of hitting? Was it David Pearson getting rocked a little bit? Whatever your thoughts are, please relay them, and thank you all so much for doing exactly that. One more sec, folks. Just need like 2 seconds here. Oh, boy. Oh, my God. Okay. All right, guys, let me go up in the chat real quick. We're going to talk more on the offense. We're going to talk more of the pitching and all those things here in just a second, but let me see what we got here in the chat. Singa not able to find the damn strike zone. Yes, that's true. 100%. Very frustrating. Yoshima, thank you for the $2 hollow. Says, well, that was awful. Go win tomorrow. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you for the membership, G-Man. Love you, my man. Really does mean a lot. At least you guys are making my day when the Mets are crushing me as much as they did. Francisco with the $10 hollow says, I'm relaxed. No high leverage arms used. Tomorrow we have Manaea versus the Dodgers bullpen game. Just take one at LA, and this is, pardon me, and this is over in New York. We got this. Francisco's feeling very confident about his Mets, which I commend him for. I will feel confident as long as the bats show up. Because 33 innings for the Dodgers to not allow a run is inexcusable between the Padres and the Mets. That can't be happening at all. Give a tip of the cap to the Dodgers, sure, but they need to be better. And I think we all can agree there, right? I think we all feel the exact same way on that front. Mets don't belong here, guys. I don't see the Dodgers sweeping. I'll knock on wood. I don't see that. I really don't. Really don't. Wardy, I'm a Dodgers fan, and I have been following you since last year because I love your take on baseball. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you kindly for that, Camille. Thank you. I don't wish the best or well for your Dodgers at all, but I appreciate the support no less. So, guys, question to everybody, to each and every one of you. How are we feeling heading into tomorrow? This is never going to be a Dodgers podcast, buddy. 5 Dodgers fans in the chat doesn't equal roughly 28,000 here on the channel. Being a sore winner is really bad. You're the Dodgers, act like you've been here before. Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Dodgers fans don't know how to act. They will always talk shit before and after, and they will come up with every excuse in the book when they don't win games. Correct. There are a lot of fair weather fans that are Dodger fans. I'm not saying that the fans that are chiming in right now are those. I'm not saying that, but there are a lot because Dodgers are such a big market, just like the Yankees. Have a lot of people that just put on a Dodgers hat like, oh, yay, go Dodgers, when they can't name more than 2 players on the team, not name Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts. You know what I mean? Like, those things happen. Not going to get a lot of fair weather Mets fans because it's not like we have the success nor the same market to really warrant that. Things are starting to change finally, but it's taking a long time to get here, if that makes sense. I'm feeling, tomorrow, I'm feeling good as long as the bats show up. If the bats show life early, then I'm feeling good. Even with the Mets wins that they've had throughout postseason where they didn't show up until later in the ball game, I don't want to see that because I don't have the same confidence in this team. Truthfully, I don't have the same confidence in this Mets team to rally late in ball games the way that we've seen them because, again, those things, they've been great, but are they sustainable? No, you can't confidently say that they have been. You really can't. Let me pull up one more thing quick. Give me 1 second, everybody. Pissed. Sorry, guys. All right, let's reel in. Why do we have Senga who hasn't pitched shit? Priest, I love you, but I haven't heard from you in days. So in defense, I'm going to start the conversation by saying, where the hell have you been? You're not allowed to talk smack if you haven't been locked in on them daily, brother. Can't be doing it. But yes, why did Kodai start? Great question. We've sadly realized that it was not the right move. And I'll say this right now. Kodai Senga started because of what we saw from the game against the Phillies. He started because the Mets were hoping to get 3-4 innings out of him of similar baseball. What they didn't expect nor hope to see was Kodai's incompetence to handle the strike zone at all today. That's the reality of the situation. It's as simple as that. He didn't have it. It ended up being a bad move for Mendoza. What made it even worse is that your count a while ago, Priest, but we fixed it. I don't want to hear you. Maybe I just haven't seen your previous streams and I apologize. But either way, where do you agree with Senga move now? You burn him and Pearson. Listen, I still agreed with the Kodai Senga move initially. Obviously, I hated it in hindsight, but I hated it even more for him to go back out in the second inning. But simply put, yes, it absolutely killed the Mets in this one. It decimated their bullpen early, and the offense had nothing to show for it. And when I talk about this Mets offense, when I say they have nothing to show for it, I mean it. I'm not just BSing. This is not just me, calling things as if they aren't true, because they are. So just listen to what I have to say to each and every one of you right here, right now. Because as we take a look at the offense for the Mets today, this is what we got. This is what we got on the offensive end. A whole lot of nothing is what we got on the offensive end. They all need to be better tomorrow. Shaman I needs to be nails. We need that tomorrow. We need that. Some really, really lackadaisical at-bats. And then when they started grinding out their at-bats, they had no luck. They had nothing going. There was just nothing right whatsoever. Absolutely killer. Absolutely killed them, to say the least. On the pitching end, look at this shit show. Danny Young and Reed Garrett were your best pitchers today, everybody. The same game that utilized Kodai Senga, David Pearson, and Jose Butto. Leave it to Reed Garrett and Danny Young to give you 1.1 shutty apiece. Jason, we don't run post-game jingles after losses, but I know you're just being a smartass, so that's expected with yourself. Appreciate that. Your one in on the Jets and was banned for a week? I didn't do that, so you must have upset a mod that was a big Jets fan. That's my guess, Priest. That's my guess. They could be down 3-0 in the series and come back. Of course they could still come back to win it down 3-0 in the series. But here's the thing. No one wants the Mets to be put in that situation. It's bad enough they dropped game one in embarrassing fashion. But listen, you have to take this as momentum if you're the Mets right now. You haven't faced adversity like this in postseason play. This is just the last obstacle for the boys to go and try to hop over, right? They've done it time and time again. They did it 11 games below 500. They did it there with Pete Alonso. They did it there with Francisco Lindor multiple times. They have had the flair for the dramatic, but to have sustained success and to get where you want to be means that you can't be reliant on those things to consistently happen, because they won't consistently happen. And this game was such a prime example on how to go about baseball the right way versus a Mets team that had nothing working from start to finish. Kevin, buddy, the difference is that LA has spent $1.2 billion this past offseason to help amplify their biggest market, which is now paired with Japan, an entire country. So if you actually understand the context, which you don't, it's understandable. A lot of Dodgers fans' IQ points are, we're going to be lucky if they're beyond 20 here. And that's not the ones that are respectful in the chat, more so the ones that are talking shit without understanding the context of things. In the case of the Mets here, they have been smaller market, even in a big market, because for the vast majority of their existence, they had schmuck, cheap owners that decided to invest in this guy by the name of Bernie Madoff. Not sure if you know him. Let me enlighten you. Simply put, fucked over every single person imaginable there that we saw on Wall Street, including the Wilpons to a degree where they would be stubborn on their spending for the foreseeable years to come. Because of that reason, the Mets would be stubborn on their spending. They'd have piss piss poor baseball decision making. They didn't know analytics was a thing until Steve Cohen became owner there in the 2020-2021 offseason. Fast forward now in those couple years, Steve Cohen has done so much great work. The fact that we have Dodgers fans talking shit as if they don't understand the context of the Mets and their run just shows you how lack of baseball knowledge that they have. Me, as an unbiased Mets fan, can tell you, I know how talented this Dodgers team is. I know how good they are. Anyone that isn't a rocket scientist can simply figure out that, hey, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts to lead off your order, it's going to be a great thing. Your bullpen was top 10 in Major League Baseball this year. Even with all the injuries that you had in your rotation, you guys still have a lot of amazing weapons. And on top of that, if you allow the Mets to make this series at all interesting, you, my friend, will be the laughingstock. You are the ones that spend $1.2 billion this offseason, the same offseason that the Mets decided not to spend, like you guys did 2 years ago because you let Trey Turner walk. Why did you let Trey walk? Because you brought in Shohei Ohtani a year later. That was the thought process then. Why did the Mets go about the offseason the way that they did? Because they have over $200 million coming off the books this year as they pursue Juan Soto, try to bring back Pete Alonso, among other players. The difference here is that the Mets had a strategic plan that led up to this point, and they far exceeded their expectations this season. They're playing with house money here. So if you think for a rat's ass for a second that a Mets fan is going to view this as like, oh my goodness gracious, that they don't belong. Yes, we did not play to our caliber at all here in Game 1, but they've deserved every right to be here the way that the Dodgers and their fans, for you guys, the expectation is it's World Series or bust. So simply put, if you don't go out and win the whole thing this year, you are the biggest laughingstock, not named the Yankees, if they don't go out and win the whole thing either this year without the Orioles or the Astros in front of their face. So again, we can do this dance. We can do this talk all day long. You want to talk fucking ball? Let's talk some fucking ball. We'll get into it. How about that? Yes. Oh my, people are saying I'm salty. Wow, color me shocked. A Mets fan is upset after dropping Game 1 of the NLCS. Wow, I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? So you guys crack me up. Again, it's common sense. I'm going to react negatively when the Mets lose in this manner. I'm going to freak the F out when the Mets do well because it's against the Dodgers and it's in the NLCS where we haven't been in 9 years. 9 years. I was 15. I'm a father now. I feel very confident that the Mets are going to make this a series. Am I guaranteeing? Yes, we're the laughingstock tonight, but here's the thing. Who gives a shit? It's tonight. It doesn't matter because tomorrow's tomorrow. You see how in a couple hours, literally in 15 fucking minutes, it's tomorrow Eastern. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's in front of us. And what's in front of us is being down 1-0 this series. That's the problem for us Mets fans to face and for the players to realize. We will handle that as such. But the last thing that we're going to have is fair weather Dodger fans who don't know more than Shohei and Mookie on their team, that I can probably cite their playoff runs better than they can over the past decade. I will gladly go tit for tat when it comes to that. We will have this dance. So I will be here tomorrow. If the Mets win any games this series, I will be here. I will be talking shit then. Because as I say it before and I will say it again, I am also that same fan that loves to dish it, so I will take it. I will gladly take it after dishing it. I had a level of confidence for sure heading into the series. I still do. I talked down on the Dodgers starting pitching and heading into the series. Not that it was bad, but that it wasn't as strong as it could be because they have Tyler Glass now injured. They have a lot of key rotation pieces injured this year. I know that the Dodgers locked and loaded fully healthy. The Mets probably don't sniff a chance, truthfully, beyond 4 or 5 games in the series. But that isn't the current situation that we have. And the current situation that we had leading up to the series with Jack Flaherty getting rocked 4/4 against San Diego. It's Walker Buehler not doing shit against the Padres either. So if Walker Buehler goes out there tomorrow and carves, or if you guys do your bullpen game and you carve, then that tells me everything I need to know about the Mets' kickstart this series. They didn't show up to play. You guys were clearly the better team, obviously. And the things that we saw the Padres expose, the Mets couldn't, because maybe the Mets aren't the better team between the two when it comes to postseason play. That might be a reality, but we're not there yet. When we get there, we will have these discussions. We will break down these exact things. Serious, I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad. We're gonna have it going. Jason says, I want the Mets to win, but I'm very disappointed. I am too. You think I'm gonna go on a limb and tell you guys I'm probably one of the most disappointed Mets fans today. I gotta be completely frank when it comes to that. Seriously. From not only a fan perspective, but from a creator perspective, knowing that this is the first time I get to cover NLCS baseball, to see them fall flat on their face from start to finish the way that they did. Come on. It is what it is. They didn't show up game 1. Dodgers did. Flaherty was great. Offense did everything that they needed to do. Fundamental baseball. The biggest thing I envied about the Dodgers today was their fundamental baseball. Just moving the runners over. It's little things that a lot of teams, especially in the heat of the moment, in the heat of the pressure in the key NLCS games, just don't do because they don't realize until it's too late. And for the Mets, they didn't have anything going until it was too late. And that's it. It's not okay, but it's a reality that we have to deal with. And that it is what it is. Serious in defense, you're talking about, this is the one thing I will say with Dodgers fans. Listen, I mean, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. If the Mets took this game 9-0, game 1, I'm losing my mind. I'm like drooling with confidence for game 2. So Dodgers fans have everywhere in the world to talk their shit. But I would just preface this. Dodgers fans are the only fans I've experienced this year. And I think this is very interesting. When I've dealt with Braves fans, when I've dealt with Phillies fans, when I've dealt with every other schmuck of a fan under the sun, only Dodgers fans have come off as insecure as they have, so much so that 72 hours ago when we began NLCS preview discussions on the channel, and the chat and the comments flooded with Dodgers fans saying how you guys don't stand a chance. You really think you guys deserve to be here? Anything. Like, it was really interesting to see how much of a mental midget a lot of Dodgers fans were. But again, I understand, outside of a Mickey Mouse reign in 2020 where, everyone played a quarter a game, so enlighten me on how that at all is valid. Seriously, I'm taking the Houston Astros cheating scandal every day of the week over that Mickey Mouse run you had in 2020. Then we add in what you guys haven't done since Dave Roberts became manager. And we go on a 162, you have nothing to show for it. So I understand there's frustration, there's pessimism, there's a mental midget mindset because you haven't simply done anything while having the highest expectations among all teams in all the National League for a decade long straight. You are like the Yankees in the sense where you have all the talk and nothing to show for it for the past 10 years. I understand that. Okay, now having understood that, I can still say I'm really, really surprised still by how many of you act in the manner that you do. Like, either you guys are I know that there are fans that are hedging, that are trying to do the reverse jinx. They're trying to do things in a way to make it spoken into existence for that to become a reality. And the fans that do that, I get it. It happens. I understand it. But if the fans out there that don't understand the Mets are at all the run that they've having, I'm going to say just wait. Just wait. It's game 1. If we get to game 4 and we get swept, then okay. Then we didn't show up. Simple as that. You guys were a better team. Good luck in the World Series. Until we get there, though, we got a lot of baseball. We got a lot of baseball. And I'm damn excited for tomorrow, to say the least. Really, really happy to get into it. And Jakir, buddy, you think I'm crying? You're giving me ad revenue right now. That's another thing that I love about opposing team fans. The last thing I'm bothered by is you, when you're actively giving me money for coming in and talk shit. So if I'm going to at least handle you guys talking shit, I'm going to also thoroughly enjoy the aspect that at least I'm fixing the pockets at the end of the day while you're chiming in and saying the things that you have to say. So that's what I got to say about that, everybody. So that is my little Wardy rant, if you will, kind of breaking down the latest in Mets land, as they certainly did not show up at all. They were godforsaken this one. Good grief, calm down. Ban, we're going to get through this, I promise. I promise you're going to get through this. Ad block, that's okay. That's okay. Trust me, not all you guys know what ad blocker is. And if so, I suggest you start using it. Either way, what the Mets need to start using is their bats, and they need to show up because they did not show up at all today. So that is going to do it for the live show, everybody. I greatly appreciate everyone watching. No matter how much you enjoyed, no matter how much you hated the coverage, no matter how much you talk shit, no matter how much you were gassing me and the Mets up throughout the game even when they were losing, I greatly appreciate every single one of you. So all the haters, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. All I will say is to all my shit talkers, I expect to see you here tomorrow. Should the Mets win, I want to see you here have it balanced. A vast majority you won't, because fans typically go in the notion where when I'm riding high and the team's doing well, I'm going to talk all my shit. When we lose, I'm going to turn off the phone and go to bed. So, while I expect that should the Mets win tomorrow, I hope to see a lot of you Dodgers fans here. I really do. Let's have a discussion. Let's have discourse. Let's talk some ball. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you all so much, everyone watching live on a replay. We appreciate every single one of you. We will see you all for in-game coverage beginning tomorrow, right around, I'd say, 3:20, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So until then, have a great rest of your night, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is your guy, Wardy, signing out. Mets get cooked in game 1. Can they rebound in game 2, or will they